Finally, an owl set up shop in our birdhouse. A male and female showed great interest in this house. Later in this video, I'll show you how I set up a camera on the inside. They were curious about the camera, but then got used to it. This is the night vision, and the male seems to be trying to entice the female to check out the house. I imagine he's saying, "This is a great house. This will be great for our kids. It's scientifically the correct size for our species, and the neighborhood seems to be quite safe. Come here, sweetie pie. I bet you'll like it." And she's finally like, "All right, already. I'll check it out." In the next scene, she's already in the box, and he comes back into the box with a gift for her. By doing this, maybe he's saying to her, "I'm a good provider. I'm a good mate." The problem was squirrels kept invading the house and taking it over. Despite the protection around the trunk, they were still able to jump from the top of nearby trees. I read that you could just scare them with a broom and some noise and shake them out, but it didn't work for me. They stayed in there. They knew I was outside and they just hunkered down. So to solve the situation, or at least try to, we had to climb back up there, take the box down, and make some alterations. This round thing is an old squirrel baffle that I'm repurposing. It's pretty heavy duty, so it will easily provide strength and structure to the aluminum flashing, which is very wobbly in the wind, for example. Just drill some holes and add some nuts and bolts. There it is. Will this keep the squirrels out of it? And will owls still be interested in it? Well, it did keep the squirrels out, surprisingly. I feel like they could get through from the top still if they really tried, but they didn't want to try from the top. They kept trying from the bottom and eventually gave up. And the owls came back. He's using that owl perch I made and showed you in a previous video. I have no idea what behavior this is. She seems to be in a trance, staring at him with a frog or something in her mouth. I can't tell. Maybe that's owl happiness, knowing you've got a meal in your mouth and your mate is keeping guard, looking outside. Maybe someone who knows about owls can drop a comment explaining what this kind of owl behavior means. Unfortunately, there was one more problem. It seemed like the owl was unhappy with the pine shavings at the bottom of the birdhouse. Now, everything I read said 1 to 2 inches, 3 to 4 inches, so I figured 4 inches would, more the better. But she seemed unhappy to me, constantly fussing with the pine shavings. So I spent a fair amount of time searching for an answer. Finally, I found one website that addressed the topic briefly. The possibility of having too much shavings can be that the owl cannot keep their eggs warm. They'll slip down to the bottom and they're unable to bring them to the surface to keep them at the proper temperature. And it barely addressed the topic. It was just a sentence or two. I feel like this really should be mentioned. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe she's just doing normal behavior, but she seems stressed out to me. What do you think? So I had to get the ladder back out and climb it. It's not exactly the safest thing to do, especially when it's muddy and slippery. But I wanted to get those shavings out because time is ticking and they are getting stressed out, I think. And I want to help them have their babies in this bird box. So I scraped out a whole bunch of the pine shavings and some of it right into my eyes on that ladder. After I did that, they started spending lots and lots of time in the box. And without the crazy scratching, they'd still do it, but not as intensely as before. They seem to be doing lots of displays of courtship. You can see some owl pellets inside the box this time now, too. He's using that owl perch I made and showed you in a previous video. Often one of them would even spend the whole day in the box. On this day, it sounds like a squirrel might have been trying to get in. If it was a squirrel, the alterations to the bird box must have kept it out. It's true, in risky situations at least, owls will sleep with one eye open. I think this is the male, and sometimes he would come by himself and call like he did when the female was around, but she never came back. So either something happened to her, or they decided on a better house someplace else. They're very mysterious creatures, I guess. Maybe we'll get lucky next year. Now I'll show you the camera setup. You just use an outdoor wireless blink camera. You use a mount and you screw it into the place you want. You must use lithium batteries because they last longer than regular ones. I have the motion detection set on very low so I don't drain the batteries from random movements and light flickering, that kind of thing. It's about 50 feet from the house and it gets perfect reception. Just know if you use a smaller bird box, this might take up too much space. So if you build your own, you can add some extra space. I thought about spray painting it brown or something, but I was afraid it would make it less slippery for squirrels and give the squirrels something to grab onto. I didn't want us to do all this work and then just ruin it with paint. But after the owls had disappeared for about a month and just looking at how bright it was, I decided to go ahead and try to spray paint it a little bit from the ladder, some brown and green, and I think it looks a little bit better. What do you think? I just sprayed the most visible part in front. By the way, if you have a mature old swamp maple tree anywhere near your house and it shows any signs of problems like limb loss, just go ahead and remove it completely. We tried to save this tree, so it was like double the price when we could have just removed it the first time. We already missed this tree. It was beautiful to look at and to sit underneath. But what can you do? It had its problems. So I'll post a video showing you what we did with that spot real soon. Just remember, don't put too many pine shavings in the owl box and protect it from squirrels. I hope this video was helpful and I hope to see you next time.